Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of June 4th, 2023. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now, and this is a special time. We start this week with a powerful full moon in philosophical sign Sagittarius, and we end the week with Pluto retrograding out of Aquarius and back into Capricorn into the new year, into January of 2024. You add to this, Mercury is going to change signs as well, and so will Venus. And so when we see so many big celestial events taking place in terms of planets changing signs, in terms of important lunar events, well, chances are more of us are going to feel something change. We're going to feel a shift. With Mercury, it's about what we're thinking about and talking about. With Venus, it's about what genuinely brings us joy, brings us pleasure. With a full moon, it is the emotional truth about what you really feel about a given situation. But when it's Pluto, well, that is rather intense. It reaches very deep within us to ask us what is essential in our lives and where it is we've been caught up in something that maybe and ultimately is just superficial. And so the invitation here is to be open to possibility, but also open to change. Now, whether that's just a change in focus for now, or it feels more all encompassing, more far reaching, this is part of the promise of this time, that we can change, that we can feel different, that we can feel better as well. You know, that's something I really believe. I'll tell you, my dad, there are certain things he loves saying, and I know that I share some of his sayings sometimes, but I tell you, sometimes they so line up with astrological phenomenon. And so, one thing my dad, a Sun Pluto conjunct in Leo and a Cancer rising, he likes to say, never give up. The sky's not going to fall. Never give up, right? And I still, in my mind, sometimes I feel that. I remember him saying that to me again and again throughout my life. That is one of his many mottos. And so I share that with you now because it is some pretty intense energies. And yet there's also every reason for hope, for optimism, even excitement as well. A full moon in Sagittarius begins this week right out of the gate, and that full moon is in a grand trine of fire with Chiron in Aries and with Mars in the sign of Leo. And so that is an energy of confidence, but it's also an energy of intention. It invites us to get very clear on an understanding of self and our own worthiness. And we're going to come back to this idea of worthiness because I actually think this is a big theme with a week like this. But see, the thing is, fire energy owns its sense of self trust and its sense of knowing that as it is worthy. When fire energy is directed wisely, more enlightened, it uses that fire to bring light and bring enthusiasm to others. But when it is that maybe the energy is not as elevated, not as enlightened, well, that's when it can turn in on itself and issues show up having to do with a heightened sense of self importance. See, the thing is, all of us are important, and in a way, none of us is important as well. But what you have at the end of the day is you being at peace with yourself and at peace with your choices. And I think that's part of this grand trine energy. Because Chiron is involved, it invites us to bring a more healed perspective to our understanding of how we are wielding our own fire, how we are shining that fire. And with Mars, there's a focus on owning our own agency to the best of our ability, recognizing the power we do have, but also making peace with where it is that perhaps we don't have power. And I understand that in some places, people have a lot more agency over their lives than in other places. And yet, let that make us grateful and take that much more ownership for the power, the agency that we have to exercise our free will to go in the direction we desire to go. Mars in the sign of Leo tells us that there's something inside that we can trust, that can shine bright, and that we know will lead us not only to good things, but really that heart oriented energy of Leo is about living a heart centered life, assuming and interacting with the world from a place of worthiness that doesn't need to be anything more than anyone else. And in so doing, gives others permission to do the same. It is this very energy of Mars that invites us to act from that place of not just self knowledge, but self value, self love as well. It changes everything when you are a person who rests in your power and your peace. It changes your thoughts, it changes your actions and your decisions, but mainly it shows up in how you treat others. That is always the giveaway of how it is that you really see and treat yourself. And so we have this full moon right out of the gate. And what I am very hopeful about is actually the fact that Saturn is squaring this full moon. And it makes me hopeful because that square to Saturn ensures that we are being honest with ourselves. You see, if you have been watching lately on my channel, the lovely cosmic homegirl April, I sort of came in during her premiere to say hi to everybody, and it was really very lovely. And so she did a full moon in Sagittarius video for my channel. April used this wonderful explanation for Sagittarius energy. She said, Sagittarius is the sign of more. It is overdoing it. It always wants more. And, I laughed out loud when I heard that because I thought, yeah, this is a sign ruled by Jupiter. It is always going to go over the top in one way or another. More optimism, more hope, more belief, more understanding of all there is yet to experience. Sometimes Sagittarius energy can get carried away with this notion of wanting more experience, more fun, more bliss. But when the energy is balanced, that more lends itself to an opening of spirit and an opening of self that ensures we live that much more a full life in this lifetime. That is always part of the invitation of Sagittarius energy. Now you add Saturn squaring that full moon into the mix, and a lot of us are having to reconcile the fact that there's so much more to do in this lifetime, and yet time is a factor. There can be real limitations that make us feel frustrated that we can't do all it is that we want to do right now, today. But let this energy inspire us to make wise choices. That is also a part of Saturn. Very often we give the notion of wisdom to Jupiter, and that is a type of wisdom. It's the wisdom of belief, of hope, of optimism. But Saturn is the wisdom of experience. Saturn is the wisdom of self honesty. It's the wisdom of accepting the truth, even if it's hard. But not only that, being empowered by the truth, by doing the right thing, and understanding the gifts that come when you behave in a way that nurtures healthy self respect. When you do that, not only are you cultivating an inner stability, but it becomes a type of presence that you're then able to take out into the world. And it shows in terms of you being able to respect others. This idea of healthy self respect, fueling respect for others, and how that differentiates from a sense of giving so much of ourselves that we lose any semblance of healthy boundaries. Well, I think that's one part of the higher lessons in wisdom that Saturn in Pisces is ushering in for us as a collective and as part of our own individual journeys as well. And so when I see this energy of a Saturn in Pisces squaring this full moon, it is saying believe, absolutely, be open, have fun, and be optimistic, but also stay wise, stay real, stay grounded. Understand what is right for you and healthy for you, and hold yourself with a sense of self respect, knowing that how you define that is going to be uniquely up to you. It is not for anyone else to judge, but when you have it, you know it, because when you have it, you are in a much more peaceful state of being as you move through your life and interact with others. Speaking of healthy self love, let's talk about Venus entering the sign of Leo. Now, going to Helene Cereso. She recently did a talk at Synchronicity University. I interviewed her here on my YouTube channel as well. We talked all about the upcoming Venus retrograde season. Now, we're not quite there yet. We will get there soon. It is going to be the 20th of June that Venus will enter shadow, the 23rd of July, go retro, and the first days of September go direct, and the first days of October leave shadow, after which Venus will quickly change signs, moving into the sign of Virgo. So altogether, we've got about 4 months of Venus in the sign of Leo, and that larger cycle, that larger trend starts Monday this week. And what's fascinating is as soon as Venus enters, the sign of Leo will immediately stand across the sky from Pluto, both planets at 0 degrees of their respective signs. I really do thank Helene in our conversation. She kept bringing the conversation to the fact that Leo is that healthy sense of self value, that heart centered life in all kinds of ways, but also the fact that we are going to have these ongoing trines of Venus to Chiron, a very healing placement as well. Well, that's what we have at this full moon. And at least at the very beginning of Venus moving into the sign of Leo, well, that Chiron trine isn't in effect just yet. It's that Pluto opposition that is dominant. And that is a rather intense energy. And so this comes down to that idea of choosing to hold yourself in value and hold healthy boundaries from that place of self respect and self value, not necessarily for the performance of it. But Pluto opposite Venus can feel rather intense in some situations. This can be very dramatic. Think about the drama queen, for example. Like, that's something we say in my family. We call each other that sometimes when it feels like someone is overreacting to something, but in a loving way, and always with something that is legitimately overacting with something. But yeah, you know it in your life when it is that you come across somebody who's being very dramatic, really wants to be the center of attention, is demanding it. Well, this energy is an opportunity to look at that more clearly. But I would also say it's an opportunity to reach a turning point where if someone isn't being very nice to us, we have power to not participate in the exchange. We have power to love ourselves enough to decide we're going to focus in a different direction. Navigating forward on Friday, Mercury, having spent over 2 months in a single sign, the sign of Taurus, starts wrapping things up, bringing things full circle to the best of its ability. Now, normally, Mercury will spend about 3, sometimes 4 weeks per sign per year. The retrogrades are what turn that on its head. And of course, we have come out of a larger Mercury retrograde season and cycle. And so the larger season, the shadow period, ended last week. Now we are in brand new territory, but Mercury is still in Taurus. We'll connect in harmony with Neptune on Friday. Now, this is remarkable. This is hope. This is inspiration, but it's idealism. It's a different type of hope than Sagittarius energy, then Jupiter energy. It's the type of hope that inspires us to see with eyes of compassion and to embody it that much more. And because it's a sextile, it is energy that we are conscious of and we're directing consciously as well towards ourselves and to others. And so I think in some ways, this is going to encourage us to see the last 2 months, a little over 2 months, more spiritually, from a more elevated place of compassion for ourselves and others. Now it is as we get to the very end of the week. And so the next energies I'm going to describe, if you are in some very western parts of the United States, you'll experience this energy very late Saturday night, but it does take place technically on Sunday in most of the world. I did want to talk about it now because I think it's a really big deal, and a lot of us are going to be feeling this energy regardless of where we are as we navigate to the end of the week. And that is, we step forward. And what happens one after the other? First, Pluto retrogrades out of Aquarius back into the sign of Capricorn. And then 45 minutes later, connects in supreme harmony with Mercury, now at the very end of the sign of Taurus. And then, literally, just moments later, it is Mercury that leaves the sign of Taurus, not to return until next year. And so this brings to a close in a very powerful and focused way this larger transit that we've been in with Mercury in the sign of Taurus. Mercury will move into the sign of Gemini. I'll talk about Mercury in Gemini more specifically next week, but for now, it's that connection with Pluto that I think is so important, so profound, because it isn't just going to be Pluto sort of delicately moving back quietly underground into the sign of Capricorn, but we are aware. We feel the difference. We start focusing in different ways on different things in our lives. That shift is not just one we feel energetically, it is a mind level shift that is set to take place now, where we see ourselves and each other and our circumstances differently in some way. Now, think back. It was about just over 3 weeks into March that Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius. And a lot of Aquarians out there were very excited about this. And it's been a mixed bag depending on which Aquarian you ask. I've seen it run the gamut. Some found it really tiring. Some found themselves feeling low of energy. Others found themselves vibrating very high of energy. But really, all of us would have felt a shift. And I think collectively speaking, really the very big news of Pluto moving into Aquarius, well, we started talking about the future a lot more. Of course, in the context of what was happening with artificial intelligence and what it would mean for the future, what it means for work and what work actually is, how we understand work, what it is to be, but also how we understand information, the exchange of knowledge itself. We spoke a lot more as a collective about not just AI technologies, but other technologies as well, making them that much more accessible to that many more people. And with this Aquarian energy, a lot of us started looking at um, larger systems of control and how that happens. And so these are some of the threads that I've noticed. But remember, we just got a little bit of a taste. It's just the very beginning. And now, as Pluto is gearing up to retrograde out of Aquarius, what we're noticing more and more with the retrograde of Pluto in Aquarius is some issues, right? Some problems where Chat GPT doesn't really care if it's telling you the truth or not. It's all over the place sometimes. It will very confidently make up a story that has nothing to do with reality, and people relying on this are getting into a lot of trouble. And so we're starting to see some issues here, right? We're having to go back to the drawing board or reflect more deeply, not just on the larger consequences of integrating these technologies, but also what needs to be refined within them so that they're actually more reliable, so that they're actually any good to us. And I think that's going to be part of what we are doing as a collective. Maybe not as outwardly, maybe it's more behind the scenes, but I do think now with Pluto moving back into Capricorn, and Capricorn is the energy of, the tycoon, the big success, the corporations. It's the energy of lifting yourself from your bootstraps and all those wonderful American things. Country with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. What would a country like that believe? Well, we can see it in our lovely American friends and fans and superstars out there. And so I think there's going to be a return to that awareness, those values, more of us becoming more aware of the actual value of building something that you can feel good about, of moving onward and upward in a direction that feels like progress to you, being intent on having a sense of success as you uniquely define it. The energy of Aquarius is very different. I just had all these wonderful conversations with people, so I know that I'm referencing them, but I also want to add Pamela Quinn did a wonderful interview with me as well. And she talked about how the energy of Pluto and Aquarius is about sacrificing the individual for the betterment of the collective. So that was the way that she expressed it. And she gave me a lot to think about. She's so brilliant. You should watch that interview as well. Outside of that, though, of course, I am remaining open to see what the probability and the possibilities are and exploring these energies archetypally. I understand with Pluto, there's fear. It can be scary. And Pluto is not an energy of balance. That's the thing as well. Pluto doesn't care about balance. Pluto is obsessed. Pluto is all in, giving all of itself. And yet, the promise is there to reach something authentic, to move beyond the superficial and get to what is essential. What is essential to each of us? Well, the answer to that is going to be uniquely our own. But Pluto, in many ways, helps us to tap into it, helps us to find it. With Pluto immediately trining Mercury, this is a conscious process. We are aware of what it is and how it is we're going to tap into this shift of energy, what it means for us individually, and how we can use this time well. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Boy, is there ever growth and expansion and hope and excitement as well. I know I'm so excited about it. It's an energy of change that's taking place that we are feeling right out of the gate. The moon speaks to our emotions, and full moons bring with them emotional honesty, the truth of what we really feel. A full moon in Sagittarius, well, what we feel is likely leaning on the side of optimism and belief and hope, which is a wonderful thing, but grounding it so that it counts for something, ensuring that in the process we earn our own self respect. We behave in a way that affirms healthy self respect. That is the gift of the Saturn square to this full moon. You add to that the beginning of an extended cycle of Venus in Leo, and it starts dramatic. It starts undeniable. It starts intense with that opposition to Pluto. All of us are going to be encouraged to get in touch with that part of us inside that knows that we are worthy, that there's something within us that is worthy of shining and of being seen. And the truth is, we all have that, every single one of us. And that's part of the balancing power of this time, maintaining that sense of your own specialness and holding it, but not having it depend on other people being less special. You alone are enough, absolutely. But together, oh boy, we're that much brighter, that much more loving as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so very grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. I am thrilled to announce that I am back at Kepler College, the world-renowned Kepler College, for my annual business course. It is the only course, business course, I teach every year in the summer in July. Such a privilege to be back at such a world-renowned and prestigious institution. I love being connected to them. And so this is YouTube for Astrologers, also known as spiritual entrepreneurship. And this is really understanding the various layers to what it is to be a spiritual entrepreneur. I do have two planets in Capricorn. You may not know that, and Saturn in the first house. And so that business side is certainly there. But then, of course, the integrity has to be there as well. And that's what we're going to look at. Lots of practical stuff, seeing behind the scenes of what it is I do, all the different things, seeing behind the scenes of my YouTube channel as well, so that you can really understand what happens, and also engaging different forms of social media as well. And so it's been very slowly building my TikTok channel. If you are so inspired, follow me there. But I've learned a lot in the process of understanding the differences between TikTok and Instagram Reels, and catching what particular apps might be the next thing, especially with Pluto now in and out of Aquarius. And so I know that I have a lot to give, and I love the opportunity to give. And I'm so grateful that so many people trust me. Now, this class always fills up. Mentorship is a big part of the experience. And so class sizes are small because we get to know each other. It is an interactive experience, and every step of the way, every week, you have assignments. It's up to you if you want to do them or not, and you don't have to submit them right away on a schedule. The actual class materials, copies of the classes themselves, all of that is in the student portal with Kepler College. And so, yes, there's lots of opportunities for feedback, for mentorship, and for understanding, for answering questions, but also for us to create a safe space together where all of us can tap into that unique individual light we have to shine. This is a very supportive atmosphere. And many, many students have said how much the experience meant to them, how it really helped them to start strong with their own social media practices and work, or maybe just personally ended up meaning a lot to them. And so I invite you to join us for a limited time. I think it's just a couple more weeks while Kepler has the discounted rate. After that, it'll go to the full price. But Kepler decides that. So they're the ones who decide the price. They process all of the payments. Everything's done through them. You can talk to them if you have questions about the more practical stuff of registering and accessing the student portal. And of course, if you have questions about the course itself, you can reach out to us through my website or the Kepler website. And someone, me, if it has to do with course content, will definitely get back to you. If you're interested in scholarships, that too is done entirely by Kepler College. So check that out. Go to the Kepler College page. I will link to it below. I hope that you will join us, and classes are coming up really quickly as well. YouTube for Astrologers, also known as spiritual entrepreneurship. This is an wide encompassing, far reaching course that really helps you to understand all the various aspects of spiritual entrepreneurship. everything from the chart that launches your business. What astrology chart do you want your business to have? To understanding how to navigate interacting with people, to all the different ways in which to monetize what you do, to all the different ways in which you can cultivate community, and so much more. That's just the tip. Getting loving feedback for your work, encouraging feedback. It's all part of the experience. So I hope that you'll join us at Kepler College, YouTube for Astrologers, also known as Spiritual Entrepreneurship. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has some incredible classes coming up this July, and you've got a few weeks left to choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologer. Boy, are these programs proving to be very popular, and I think we're going to have so much fun this July at Synchronicity University. I am going to start with the one and only Christopher RENSTROM. How can you not absolutely love him? He comes at the world with so much heart, but he is absolutely brilliant. He shows up, does his astrology, absolutely prepared. He is a best-selling author of several books, and he is coming to Synchronicity University this July. And for a limited time, $5 a class with choose your membership rate. Now, he's going to look at how he approaches an astrological chart. So that's going to be something that you will learn directly from him. Right now, I am starting to wrap up a class that I've taught called Back to Our Roots. Really, the very introductory things that you might need to read an astrology chart, to start getting familiar with chart reading. Very foundational. And so Christopher has been monitoring my class to make sure he doesn't repeat anything that I've taught, but he is going to help you to understand the big symbols and bringing it together and doing exceptional chart readings that he is paid hundreds of dollars to do per hour. He is going to teach you how he does that, what he looks at, the methodology he employs. This is a very rare and special opportunity to learn from one of the best in the world. That is the world recognized Christopher RENSTROM, big dog astrologer. His class starts in just a few weeks, and you've got just a few weeks left to choose your tuition rate. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents Taylor Schuler, award-winning astrologer. This woman is brilliant, and she is ready. I am so proud to feature astrologers like her. She's going to be doing a 5-week class on life purpose. And if you listen to her for 5 minutes, right, the interview I did with her, 5 minutes, you will know that there is something you can learn from Taylor Schuler. And she's the perfect person to teach it, that she has it in her to give in a way that is that much more easy to receive. But yes, her class is on life purpose, how to find it, how to tap into it, how to live it. And it is something that I know a lot of people like to look at the chart too, to understand life purpose. Well, she's going to bring her own unique perspective, but wise and encouraging and easy to grasp and understand and implement right away. In fact, I will tell you, you take one class with Taylor, you will come away a better astrologer. When she was a speaker at Synchronicity University, she was afterwards, when we do the student surveys to see what you guys thought of the classes, she was one of the highest rated speakers we'd ever had. Students absolutely loved her, and for good reason. She's prepared, she's clear, and she gives you tools and techniques that you can implement right away to understand your chart better. And in this case, to understand life purpose in the chart, which is something that brings so many of us to astrology. And so, yes, learn a lot more at synchronicityuniversity.com. You've got just a few weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class at synchronicityuniversity.com for Taylor Schuler. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has an incredible July 2023 speaker series. I am so proud of this group. It might be the first time that we have like all 5 women. It just sort of worked out that way. But what exceptional astrologers each and every one of them is. I'm going to start with Christine Skinner. She's back very popular teacher, and she's one of our living legends. She hates it when I say that, but really, I mean, she is a big dog, and I love working with her and having her trust. It means so much to me that someone whose books I read like 20 years ago, more, now trusts me and comes to my school to teach. It's so, on the one hand, it's such a privilege to have that trust, but also it makes me so happy to offer you this quality of astrological education for as low as just $5 a class. And of course, that's for a limited time. But yes, she's going to help you to understand money management by understanding the astrology and understanding your chart. Now, Becca Tarnas is another shining star in astrology. We are so lucky to have her. I'm sure you've seen her online. She's taught at some of the most renowned astrological spaces and places. And she is somebody who, like me, takes a very big picture perspective. But, anyways, she's going to help you to understand, like, sort of read an ephemeris. An ephemeris is basically a charting of where the planets are at a given time, at a given day, if you will, and how to use that to actually, in your mind, understand what transits are taking place for you. And so this is where we're getting medieval, right? This is how the medieval astrologers actually did it, whether they had tables, ephemeris. And once you understand the cycles, I mean, some of them, they're just kind of with you. And this is where we get old school with the techniques that our astrological ancestors implemented. And so I love that she's bringing this to Synchronicity University. She's so brilliant and so engaging. I think you'll love this class. Pamela Quinn, I mentioned earlier, she has such a wonderful online reach, and she's going to be looking at Saturn in astrology, understanding it, tapping into Saturn for your and to your advantage. We had an incredible conversation, and I really got to see up close just how insightful she actually is and can be. And really, Saturn needs something to do, right? That's the thing with Saturn. And so the story goes that Saturn, I'm jumping ahead here. I'm really whittling it down to just a few key points here. But yeah, Saturn was afraid that one of his kids was going to grow up and usurp him as the greatest king of the gods of all time. And Saturn was so afraid of that that he started to eat his children. This is actually something, in this image, is something that Pamela talks about in the interview that we did. And so what happened was he ate Neptune, he ate Pluto, consumed them. And when it came time to eat Jupiter, his wife gave him a stone and told him it was baby Jupiter. And so Saturn ate the stone and didn't realize that that wasn't Jupiter. And then Jupiter took off. He lived with the awareness that he was born to do something very special. He was raised by teachers and in so much love and such confidence as well. And of course, he was raised like that. So he came back and opened his dad's tummy so he could free his siblings. And he ended up becoming king of all gods. And so that's the story. But it was pointed out to me, a wonderful astrologer once said, I'm so sorry, I don't remember his name, but I met him in Florida when I had a speaking engagement there. And he was saying how that story illustrates that you got to give Saturn something. Give him something to do, and then he won't like sort of wreak havoc in ways that don't feel very good to you. And I always held that advice near and dear, I'll tell you. So, yeah, she's going to teach you about that, tapping into your Saturn consciously, directing that energy to your advantage. Celeste Brooks is amazing. I've been following her online as well. She's such an amazing astrologer, and she's going to help us to tap into the power of eclipses. So, using eclipses to forecast what could be coming up. And they are a very powerful predictive tool. Of course, eclipses happen when the nodes of the moon are involved, and the nodes of the moon are a powerful understanding as to what the spiritual intent actually is versus the conscious intent. And of course, the spiritual intent always wins. And so, what happens when we have eclipses? They align us back with the spiritual intent of the soul, of this moment, of this lifetime. And so, yeah, things happen that sometimes seem natural, sometimes come out of the blue, sometimes are shocking. But This is where the skill of prediction comes in. And astrologers have, for millennia, used an understanding of eclipses to implement one part of our tradition, which is prediction. And so, Celeste is going to teach you those techniques. I think this is going to be a great class. And we have Janae Jones. Now, Janae Jones, I love her. I followed her online for so long. She does Spiritual Gangster Certified, and she has these wonderful chart readings where she'll look at different celebrities, but also give advice as well, along with her friends. But her memes are just so insightful and funny and spiritual. So I've loved getting to know her over the last couple of years online, and you've seen her on my channel, and now she's coming to Synchronicity University. Janae Jones will be teaching on understanding the Yod aspect, also called the Finger of God aspect. This is a major configuration that I know a lot of people want to tap into the power of. I've been asked about this major configuration over the years as well. Whenever someone has it, they're like, can you tell me what this means, right? It is very exciting to dive into this aspect. She touched on different major aspects when she did her interview with me, and you can find that on my YouTube channel here. Having said that, it's also on my Spotify channel as well. That should link below. But having said that, she is so special. She is so insightful. And I just think she's a star. I love her, and I love having her at Synchronicity University as well. So once again, Choose Your Tuition Rate is on for a limited time. I think you've got just under 3 weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologer. Sign up now for the July 2023 speaker series. Links are in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm truly so grateful for it. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.